All right, day 2 of the crazy quarantine. Hope everybody's doing okay today. Today I want to talk about the Flam 7. So I did a little bit of this yesterday when I was talking about my paradiddle combinations. And I thought I'd do a little bit of a deep dive on it because one thing that I've seen videos on it. I think one of the first guys to kind of break it down was Austin Burcham. Sorry if I'm saying the name wrong. But his YouTube channel, Study the Greats, really good video on kind of showing how Vinnie plays that Flam 7 pattern. So let's start there. So the Flam 7 pattern, if I had to break it down even more, is actually a Flam paradiddle starting on the left side and then just a right, left, left to complete the phrase. So if I did it, I'll do it on the hat, so hopefully everybody can see it, but it would be left, right, left, left, right, left, left. So 7-note pattern, 4 with the Flam paradiddle, 3 on the finishing side. The way that Vinnie tends to play it is he'll do it between the Flam between a tom and a snare. And the grace note, instead of kind of tucking the grace note, so usually on Flams you tuck the grace note, which means that grace note is just ever so slightly thrown in. But the way that we're playing it here is almost like a separate accented note. So it's larger. So when we play that between two different surfaces, instead of it sounding like this, both sides are going to have the same volume or the same dynamic. So it's kind of brought out a little bit more. So when we play that, it's left, right, left, left, Flam with the left hand, right grace note on the tom. You can pick whichever tom you want to do it on. And then accented right, left, left. So that's the first half. With the right, left, left. So put it all together. It's really actually a simple pattern. I always say simple is not easy. So simple just means, yeah, can you understand it? Can you break it down into components that you can see how they all individually work and then put them together? So to me, it's a simple pattern. A lot of what we do in drums is actually simple. It's just the context makes it difficult. So the reason on one level that this pattern is difficult, firstly because it's a group of 7. 7s and 5s are exceedingly not, they're not patterns that you see quite as often, especially in things like pop music, and just a lot more widely listened to styles of music. That being said, there are subtle ways to put them in, which that'll be for another day. But the Flam 7, firstly, being difficult because it's a group of 7. The second reason is because on a technical level, you have to pull out an accent in your left hand at the beginning of the phrase when you loop it back around, coming off of 2 lefts. So you really have to develop the technique of being able to play left, left, and then a third note that's accented afterwards. And I think for most of us drummers, especially those that are right-handed, we play that type of stuff all the time in our right hand. So even kind of thinking of like up-tempo swing patterns, it's pretty much that pattern: right, 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 right. So you just have to be able to develop that in your left hand. So pulling out that left hand accent is tough. The third difficulty, and that's really what I want to talk about today, is the way that we can kind of move that around the kit. And this is the deep dive I want to do because I haven't really seen as much of this sort of talked about. But obviously playing the different permutations is really important because it gives you more opportunity and more, the word I'm looking for, it allows you to play this in different ways around the kit. It sort of adds different options in your arsenal, different phrases, different things that you can kind of do with it. So it's really good to understand it on different levels. So what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to play it on 16th notes. And again, I've got Polynome. I've got the Polynome app working, and I'm just got it at 70 beats a minute right now. So 2, 3, 4. And if I were to play the Flam 7 on 16th notes coming back around, it would take 7 bars. So that's the rule. The pattern that you play takes as many times as the length of the phrase for it to come back around. So if it's a 7-note pattern over 16th notes, it will take 7 bars for it to come back around to 1. Okay, so let's see if I can do that here. And I'll try to get that going. And I'll just try to keep it simple on the toms, maybe just on the floor tom for now. Actually, I'll do it on the high tom so people can kind of see that right hand motion, okay? So from the beginning, 1, 2, 3, E, and 4, E, and So ultimately, that's the easiest way to start to get used to the phrase, is just playing it revolving around on a subdivision that you feel comfortable with. I think 16th notes for most people, or 8th notes, so like a duple meter phrase, is really easy to, or easier to understand how these phrases will work. So I mean, you could do the same with 5s. They tend to be more common in things like gent, and some of those more complex styles of music, if you listen to that. But the tricky thing is when you start to do this stuff on sextuplet variations. So I'm going to do the same cycle, all right, but I'm going to do it on sextuplets. So I'm subdividing on 8th notes now and basically doing groups of 3s per 8th note. So sextuplets are 6 notes per quarter note, so you can break that down into 3 notes per 8th note, which is 16th note triplets. So anyway, there's my quarter, so there's my 8th note there, and I'm gonna keep what we call dancing hi-hat going, because the dancing hi-hat, you can hear the quarter note pulse. Okay, and I'll play that pattern going around on sextuplets. Let's see how this goes, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm going to slow down. I'm still kind of getting warmed up. It's a really tough pattern to basically subdivide at faster tempos. I'm still working on it a little bit, and I don't mind putting that out there, warts and all, because I want people to see, you know, how you're able to develop on things like this and that it is possible. Don't limit yourself and think that you can't do something because it seems really difficult. But I'm going to drop this down a little bit more. So let's go. I was going to do it at 60, but let's do it a little bit slower than that. Okay. All right, we're going to try it there. This is 50 beats a minute. And I'll say this too: if you have a hard time with understanding the way that the cycle coming back to 1, I wouldn't worry about that first. First thing is just get used to playing it over the subdivision as it goes, okay? So 1, 2, 3, and 4, So that's definitely something you can work on. Now, I'm going to take that to another level right now. How can I make a pattern like that work? I think one tough thing is that some people think when they maybe transcribe a drum part, or they transcribe a solo, and they see a phrase like that done, because Vinnie actually, the example I gave yesterday was the Modern Drummer Festival from 2000. And it was the solo, I'm Tweaked Attack of the 20-Pound Pizza. Vinnie plays that pattern in the solo, and on 2 levels. 1, he plays it in 3/4 time, and 2, he's subdividing on sextuplets in 3/4 time, and I think the tempo is about 107 beats a minute, roughly. So that's pretty nuts. And that takes a lot of time. I'm even sort of still grasping it at 70 beats a minute, hopefully trying to get it to 80. You know, it takes time, and it's definitely difficult, and who knows, it might just be one of those things that's a little all for naught. But I'm all about challenging myself. I think people should challenge themselves as well. But here's how we can kind of take this phrase and have a little bit of fun with it. So it's a 7-note phrase. One way to even it out is to add a bass drum at the end. So take the phrase, kick at the end of it. So flam, right, left, left, right, left, left, kick. And now I've made an even sounding phrase. Play this pattern a little bit quicker. So in context where you're playing maybe like 16th notes at faster tempo, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can now fit that phrase in there. And it's because now you don't have to pull the left hand out as quickly after your 2 doubles at the end. You can play the kick that gives you a gap in between. So now you can feel a pattern that ultimately might seem like just way over your head, and make it that much easier to be able to implement it. So, so obviously there I'm just starting from the beginning and using that as like 1 E and 2 E and with the kick. But who's to say that you can't shift the phrase? So for example, playing the flam is 4 notes. So left, right, left, left, 1 E and So who's to say that I can't start halfway through the phrase now? So instead of 1 E and 2 E and 3, start halfway through the phrase. Right, left, left, kick, and then the flam paradiddle on the back end of it. So there's a lot of different ways that I can kind of use that as like a fill pattern. So I could start with the flam. Or I could start with the right, left, left kick. So basically modification of like a paradiddle. So already there, I've taken something that seems extraordinarily difficult, and I've actually utilized it in a way that is a little bit easier to hear. It's a more comfortable context. And on top of that, then you can kind of have a lot of fun with it. So let's say, for example, you've got like a rhythmic articulation hit. So like one E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and ah. So you could actually use one of your accenting points as now the offbeat 16th. So, and one thing I didn't even talk about, I've only been playing this on toms. You could do this on cymbals. So, right there, I'm outlining that 1 E and 2 E and So now I have, with the cymbal, I can add context to that. Because Vinnie also does variations where instead of playing on toms, he's accenting on cymbals. Sorry. So you can have a lot of fun with that now. I could split the double. So there I'm doing flam right, so left flam right, flamming on my ride cymbal with the kick, and then a right hand accent down on the tom. And that opens up a whole new level of conversation, like split doubles. So I'm playing just double stroke rolls, but I'm separating my right hand between the cymbal and a tom, right, left, right, left. So that's for another day. But let's get back to what I was saying before. Let's say I'm doing an offbeat crash hit. So I could do like 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and and that leads into my phrase. So 1, 2, 3, 4 E and So that now creates like a really cool sounding change in the pattern. Let's see if I can do this one. So 1, 2, 3. That's tougher, but it opens up the doors to possibilities. So there's a good one there. That one fits. So let's try that. So 1, 2, 3. Takes a little bit more cerebral power, but it's just opening up the doors of possibilities. So I know for myself, the reason I started doing this is because I wanted to be more creative with the fills and patterns and things that I play. I do a lot of gigs. Like one of the gigs that I do is a Santana tribute group and a Woodstock tribute group, where I have to solo a lot. So I'm getting paid to play chops on top of just being able to kind of lay down grooves and everything. So I do think it is important for drummers to be able to work on these aspects. It's not everything, and it's definitely not something that should be your main focus all the time. But I do think it's important to open up your room for vocabulary and the different things that you can do on the kit. Get creative, have fun, especially now if you're stuck at home for 2-3 weeks, whatever it's going to be. Get creative, have some fun with it. I'm all about figuring these things out. I have a scientific brain, so these are just some of the details that I've sort of tried to iron out. So I hope it's been a little informative on what we're doing here and just some different ways that you can kind of take something that is seemingly difficult or seemingly too out of your league, you might think, and with a little bit of understanding, a little bit of just time and practice, you can modify it and you can kind of make it your own. So, like I was saying before, yesterday, if anybody wants to hit me up for any PDFs or anything on what I've done today, please DM me. I'm walking over to the phone right now. But yeah, just let me know if you want to write up on this sort of stuff. I do have some of these things written out. So drop me a line. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any comments or questions or any requests on things to show in these videos. Because like I said, I'm going to do this every day.
having a lot of time on my hands, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, obviously. But anyway, hope everybody enjoyed it, and I will see all of you tomorrow.